Thank you for taking the time to meet with me during this crazy time. Let's jump right into it. Can you tell me a little bit about your working history and your current position?
Sure. Well, I've been with First Montgomery Properties since 1995. I started as a property manager at an apartment community, working on site, supervising the daily crew, making sure that they took care of the homes for the people, and leased and marketed the property effectively to find new residents. Over the course of years, I moved from that position on up through the company, and I now work in the main office. And I supervise the regional manager and managers who now work on the sites. I also handle getting mortgages, insurance, and supervise our main office staff.
How's your daily work schedule changed to what is currently happening in the world?
Well, it changed a lot because I think I find myself working longer hours, taking breaks in the middle, getting emails and responses at different times than maybe in the past you wouldn't have. I feel like people are working more on weekends and just maybe popping into their home office a little bit more conveniently and responding to emails. I think things that require actual physical visit, or they're obviously off the table, they're a little tougher. Receipt of paper documents, things are slow. Things are definitely moving online.
Longer hours because the simple stuff takes longer to do?
Yeah, I think the simple things take longer. I think people are trying to work with each other. I think people are trying to find ways to communicate better. People are doing a lot of video conferences. They're trying to pay bills more online. I think they're trying to just help each other do their jobs. And, you'll get an email at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and you may get one again at 5 o'clock in the morning. You may get one Sunday at 3 in the afternoon, and people seem to be popping in and out. So it is changing the way the days.
I've read that positivity opens us, making us more receptive and creative. What are some positive reinforcements you as the manager are exploring to get through this hiatus?
Well, I think one positivity is how people really do seem to be pulling together and trying to help each other. And whether that's neighbors helping other neighbors, whether it's employees telling other employees, you don't have to go in, you're older, you just overcame cancer. In our business, we have to go in and take care of emergencies in people's apartments. We do have maintenance men that are more comfortable doing that than others. So it's nice to see people trying to work with each other, and they'll say, you handle the outside work, I'll handle the inside work when we do it to go into somebody's apartment. But yeah, I think there's.
No, that's good.
Okay.
That's good. Alright. Who do you consult and work with when making major business moves?
Well, I think I would start by talking to the people who it would affect most, and that may possibly be the managers who have to push the policy out to maybe the residents, or maybe it would be the HR director who may push a policy out to the employees to ask them how they think it would work, or how we should roll it out, or how we should undertake it. If it's more of a financial decision, I may talk to the CFO and ask him his thoughts and bounce things off him. I'm thinking then eventually I would then talk to my brothers and ask them what their thoughts are. And really, I think it's really a consensus building, but also asking people around you who maybe have more expertise in that one particular matter, or would have an idea on how it may affect them. One change that we made recently was we waived all fees for credit cards for rent payments. Typically there's a 2% fee. We did that with the goal of trying to get more rent sooner and quicker.
And it's paid off?
It has, and what we did was we talked to the managers and asked them how they thought how the residents would take it. We then asked the bookkeeper how we could do it, and whether she can get in touch with the software company and take it off the website. They did that. And we weren't able to do it until April 2nd, but we were able to credit back anybody who paid rent on the 1st and had a fee.
Great, that's awesome. Alright, I read about the significance about goal setting and prioritizing certain goals. Do you think this is important? And what are some specific goals you guys have, whether it's the long term or the short term?
Well, I think if you don't have goals, you really can't have a roadmap to where you want to be. There's an old saying that says you get what you measure. And that's kind of like if you measure, maybe say how you're productive in this, or how much, in our business, we would measure occupancy, we would measure collections, we would measure how many people move out as compared to how many people move in. These are those are short-term goals, of occupancy, of collection rates, of how many maintenance slips you're going to complete in a week by each maintenance man. So I think your short-term goals typically help you lead up to your big long-term goals. Our specific goals, I think, are always improving our properties, decreasing our mortgages, completing the construction of a property that we're undertaking right now. I mean, there's always goals. There's targets, there's goals. And there's always things like coronavirus that puts those goals on hold and then fouls things up.
For the short-term goals, how you measure them, you talked about like tracking the mortgages and stuff like that. Would you consider those like key performance indicators? Because that's a later question. That like, how do you track progress and success, kind of? So that's kind of.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want to get into that now?
Yeah, I guess might as well.
Well, I guess it's kind of the performance, and it's actually Bo Schemblecher, the coach of Michigan football, that said you get what you measure. If you measure 40-yard times and you push your guys to improve on 40-yard times, or if you measure GPA and say that you had a 2.2 last semester, but I need you to be at a 2.4 semester next semester, you get what you measure. If you don't track things, you don't get it. We measure things such as occupancy, collection rates, delinquencies, which is obviously the inverse of the collection rate. How much money we spend on maintenance materials per property, the water bill per property, how many gallons each apartment uses at this property as compared to that property to see if there's water leaks.
What do you like most about your job and your work environment?
Well, it's probably partially the people that we work with and what we do. We provide people housing, so I do think that is an important thing, and we provide housing to military families, so I do think that's important. It kind of comes with a higher level of responsibility. You're not just selling people, a piece of gum or a widget or a paper clip that they staple a piece of paper together with. It's where they live, it's where they have their families. They have to be safe. You worry about fires, you worry about floods, you worry about people dying. We have kitchen fires, we've never had death. So those are the things that I like about it, is that we're not just selling people a widget, we're providing a service for them that they need, which is a house. We try to do the best we can.
Yeah. There's a quote in an article I read that states, "You don't have to have the answer to ask a great question. A great question will ultimately get an answer." What do you think about this quote?
Well, I think it's completely true, because I think if you want the real answer, you don't want a leading question. And I think when you tend to know more about something, you ask a leading question because maybe you know a little bit about it, or you think you already know the answer and you're just asking confirmation. So I think when you know absolutely nothing about something, you can ask the most honest question you can ask. That's when you can really get the right answer. And I think the most important part about asking a question is that listening isn't waiting to talk and respond. It's listening.
Mm-hmm. It's funny.
The big point is that there's no such thing as a stupid question, just stupid people.
Nice. That's funny though. Half the article is like kind of talks about like leading questions, and like if you know how to do something and you're trying to teach someone to do something, you'll like it's almost hindering because like you're like trying to teach them in like
You're like,
Yeah.
do that.
Why do you think good communication is important in the workplace?
Well, I think good communication is important in the workplace, as anywhere, because you don't know what somebody else's goals and desires and needs and maybe displeasures are. And
What
whether
about
that's
especially in the perhaps like the apartment realm, like communication?
well, that's good. Apartment communication in our company. One thing is a little bit difficult because we're not in the same space together. We have different people in different properties. So we have a main office where we have 10 people who are basically bookkeepers and finance and accountants and whatnot. And then you out on the property, you'll have a property manager, leasing staff, and a maintenance staff. So it's tough to communicate because we communicate with them. They may be 10 miles away or they may be 100 miles away. It's tough for them to collaborate with their other managers because their other managers may be 10 to 50 miles away. The other thing that's difficult is that you have maintenance men who are out on the site and you have office employees who are in the office and they have to communicate. So what we try to do is each site has probably a 10-minute daily meeting of all the employees in the typical time, not now obviously. So that they could just convey what's going on, move-ins and move-outs and maintenance requests and things that we're trying to work on. And what they also do is they then communicate electronically with their maintenance men throughout the day of maintenance requests that come in and things that need to be done. They communicate with us at the main office, electronically through reports, phone calls, but communication is key because if you want to get a message across to employees of what's important, they have to know that you think it's important so that they can make it important. An example this week is that each night we get a delinquency report sent to us, everybody, all the managers, myself, and the CFO, of all the delinquency reports of all the properties showing what residents have paid and haven't paid, so that we can show the residents, to the managers, this is the main focus right now.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Especially in light of anti-eviction orders, residents know they cannot get evicted even if they don't pay their rent, which we wouldn't do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But what we hope is that residents that can pay their rent do pay their rent, and ones that can't pay their rent, that we talk to them more.
All right. What do you think separates a manager from a leader, and what are some key qualities of leadership in the workplace?
I guess the difference between a manager and a leader is a manager can manage what the leader envisions. And the leader envisions it and comes up with it and then leads everyone on. And the manager is the one who can execute that plan. A lot of times the manager is more important than the leader because the manager is the one who actually can make it happen. A lot of times the leader
Just has the idea, maybe?
has an idea, but he can't execute it because they're not on that ground level with the employees down in the trenches. And you need a manager to execute a leadership strategy. So without a good leadership, a manager could be a little bit, they may not really know what to manage or what we should be doing. But I can manage you, but I don't know what maybe we should do without the leadership. So there's another thing, it's very important to have communication between the management and the leadership, and the management and the leadership and the customers.
Thomas, I think that's all. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Well, I guess vision. Vision is what separates a manager.
Yeah. Well, one has the would you say one has direction and one has more of the vision? Like the manager
Yes.
directs it and the leader.
The leadership comes up with the vision, and he leads them really through a vision, a lot of times through inspiration, and also through showing that they're willing to get their hands dirty and work hard themselves also.
All right. Great. Awesome.
All right, why don't you go edit it, and
Yeah.
if you want to redo any part of it, let me know.
All right.
Redo it.
I will. That's good though. That was good.
Yeah, let me know if you want to redo any part of it. I don't care.
Thank you. Sweet.